Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Hot and Fresh Off the Press. I had some technical difficulties this morning, so this is being posted a bit late, but it's better late than never, is what I say. The first story that I have for you guys today is in regards to horse meat being found in meat products, mostly in the UK and in the States. Apparently there haven't been any traces found yet in Canada, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we hear about it, so I would suggest click on the link below because I am going to be posting links, as usual, below for all the stories that I discussed today. So Taco Bell is the number one. I guess they were the first ones to sort of come out and say, listen, yes, we do have some horse meat or other byproducts essentially in our foods. IKEA was another one that I was actually really surprised that was on the list. Even Nestle products as well. So there'll be a list of the companies and the link below if you want to find out more. But yeah, just maybe not eat Taco Bell. I would suggest maybe not eating that. I don't know about the whole horse meat thing. It kind of grosses me out. I understand that it's still a meat and it's not bad for human consumption, but it is still fairly deceiving when all this time we thought that it was only beef and it's really not beef. I don't know that I'll eat there again. Anyhow, in other news, there's been some budget cuts in the States that Obama was supposed to, well, he was supposed to stop from happening, and he missed the mark on it, or I guess, let me rephrase all of this, okay? I have a feeling what Obama really did, and this is my personal opinion, is that he wanted things to go a certain way. They weren't coming up with an agreement amongst, all the parties involved, and so he sort of pulled a fast one and said to himself, I'm the president, what I say goes, essentially, and this is what needs to happen in order to fix problems that are going on. And so I think he just did what he had to do in order to fix the problems that are going on. I could be completely wrong. I don't disagree with what he did either way. Yes, it's going to suck, and how it will affect all of you is going to be posted below. I'm going to add an extra link for that because it gives a breakdown per sector, and explains how each sector is going to be affected by these budget cuts. And so the one thing that will not be affected is social assistance or unions or things like that. Those won't be affected by these budget cuts, apparently. In other news, there was a sinkhole in Florida that actually essentially swallowed this man in his bedroom. He was in bed, sleeping, or about to go to sleep, either way, just chilling in his bed, and the ground just opened up and swallowed him in his bed and his belongings and everything in his room. I would love to know what he did wrong in his life to have such bad karma, because that just seems like too much of a coincidence. And I'm not a huge believer in coincidences. I think that every coincidence has, a meaning behind it. Like there's something more to it than it just being a coincidence. So it'd be interesting to figure out if he maybe did something in his past that maybe wasn't the greatest thing to do, and now he's got some bad karma because of it, and that's what ended up happening. In other news, in regards to the Pope, there's been a lot going on this week about the Pope and who's going to replace him, and whether or not he's going to essentially leave everything up to the new Pope. Is he going to want to have some say or not? Everyone's kind of going a bit bonkers because this has not happened in so long that people almost don't know what to do with themselves because they're just in such shock. They really weren't expecting the Pope to retire. And from what I gather, he just really wants to wash his hands clean of it all. He just wants nothing to do with it. He wants to essentially retire in peace and just be able to relax and not deal with all the stress and all the problems. So I think he's just going to step back and allow the new pope to do his job, and so far he's done everything he possibly can to essentially publicly state that that's his plan. He wants absolutely nothing to do with essentially running things. And lastly, but certainly not least, and this was kind of mind-boggling to me, this next story, LA is creating a lot of parks, and the reason being is that they're trying to seed out sex offenders. And I find it kind of humorous. I think it's kind of a good idea, but on the other hand, these sex offenders need to live somewhere, and if it's not LA or it's not in these particular neighborhoods, it's going to be other neighborhoods in LA, and if they put enough parks so that they can't live in LA, then they're going to end up moving elsewhere. So there's still going to be a problem. There's still always going to be sex offenders. I think it's funny. I think it's a good idea if it's because there's particular neighborhoods that are being sort of targeted, or there's just an abundance of them in certain areas and they want to try and make them more family-friendly areas. I get it, but these people have to live somewhere, and if it's not in jail for crimes that they've committed, then and they're allowed to live out in public, or they've been released, or whatever their scenario is, then the fact that they're registered and they have to be on a website and all this kind of stuff, like, I mean, it gets to a point where these people are allowed to live too, and especially if they've paid for their crime. And I don't know, there's so many details that go into it. Like, I'm not justifying sex offenders. I think they're disgusting pigs who, I mean, really have serious, sickening problems. But I think there's a better way to deal with the problem than to, build parks to force them out of their homes. I mean, it's just getting a little ridiculous, these loopholes that cities and governments are trying to find in order to make things work in their favor. So anyhow, let me know, you guys, what you think about that last story. I'd really like to know what you guys are thinking in regards to that parks and sex offender story. Unfortunately, like I said the other day, there's going to be no more Ranting and Raven or the Review Schmooze. It's being replaced by Fantastical Fridays, which I'm excited about. I'm essentially just mixing both together and adding other things, and it's just going to make it a bit more fun and a bit less crazy for me during the week. So, sorry that this episode today has been a little kind of wonky compared to most of them. I just have a lot on my plate right now, and I've got a lot on my mind, so I'm sort of all over the place. So, anyhow, the links will be posted below for the stories today. Please check them out, and stay tuned for Ashes Bashes tomorrow. Have a great